Hey, what's going on, guys? Now, some of you may remember last month when I talked about doing a special speed paint video, and we're going to be doing that today. So, sit back and enjoy the story of Huntik Reborn. Not long after defeating the Blood Spirals, the Huntik team found their way into the spirit world of Huntik and rescued Locke's father, Ethan. With Locke being 16 at the start of the show, we'll say he's about 18 at this point. With the family now brought back together, Ethan decided to retire as a seeker after what felt like an eternity of adventures, and returned to the Lambert house in Ireland to live with his family. However, Locke felt that his adventures were just beginning and decided to stay as a seeker, though a bit more of an after-school activity with Sophie. So, for this, the Huntik team technically would have been retired, but still come together during the summer to go exploring. Then, after they finished college 3 years later, Locke and Sophie got married and had 2 kids of their own. A son they named Tony Lambert, and 3 years later, a daughter they named Emily. However, they didn't want their kids to become seekers and have constant danger in their lives. So Locke would tell them tales of titans and amulets as if they were bedtime stories. Unbeknownst to the parents, though, Charrot would come visit the kids when they should have been sleeping to tell stories of seekers and what the life of a seeker is like. However, one evening when Tony was 6, Charrot didn't show up, making him and his sister unhappy. But they grew up and began to think their talks with Charrot were all dreams conjured by their parents' stories. Tony's life then went on as normal as possible until he turned 16, when he came home from picking up Emily from the school to find their home destroyed. Instinctively, he rushed through the ruins to see if their parents were okay. However, while moving as much debris as he couldn't find anyone. The only thing he could find was a strange box with a unique insignia on it, as if 3 people shared hands, which lifelong fans will know is the symbol of the Huntik Foundation. Inside the box, the kids see 2 amulets and instinctively grab one. While holding these items, the 2 feel themselves enveloped with a power they can't describe. The kids then see a book in the box as well, which Tony grabs and begins looking at, which has scribbles in Locke's handwriting about monsters, spells, and ancient artifacts. They don't know what to make of it, as they're so distracted that they don't even notice a small group of cloaks approaching behind them. They turn around to see that they're surrounded, with several members of the group calling out, "Augur Frost!" But before the group can attack, a man in a dark gray cloak attacks the assailants, using spells fans would instantly recognize. The hooded figure then takes the kids, basically saying, "Come with me if you want to live." When they get to a safe place, the figure removes his hood and says that his name is Harrison Fears. With the last 20 years under his belt, he now sports a scruffy but well-kept beard and the sides of his head shaved. When the kids begin asking him questions, he says he can't explain everything now, telling them that their parents were part of the Huntik Foundation, and that there are creatures in amulets and artifacts called titans. This kind of exposition would be a way to introduce newcomers and catch up returning viewers. Within this safe house, Harrison takes a look at the amulets and says that they are unique and found them with their parents on one of their missions. Using his holotome, it identifies Tony's amulet as Sunhawk and Emily's as Achmen Mayo. Harrison then makes a call to the Huntik Foundation to see what to do. While we don't see who he's talking to, the voice would sound familiar. However, before they can go, the place is attacked by the hooded figures again, leading Harrison to inform that it's the Cult of Legion, describing them as people who are an offshoot of the disbanded Blood Spirals and see themselves as Razimov's true heirs, but leaving out how he knows this. With this threat coming to them, Harrison gives the kids a crash course on how to summon Titans. They then feel the power coursing through them as they call out, "Soar, Sunhawk!
Analyze, Achman Mayo!"
With these Titans and Harrison calling upon the help of a familiar Titan,
Strike them! Hitokiri!
they're able to fight off the cult members, who use two new Titans. Burn hotter! Karo-san! Feel the poison! Akamaru! With the battle eventually won, Harrison leads the two to the closest Huntik building and informs them that he will be joining them to find their parents, as he was one of their proteges and feels it's his responsibility to save them, as they saved him many times in the past. So yeah, Harrison would be somewhat taking on Dante's role in this series, which I feel would be a good type of dynamic. While I think that Den would have made more sense as he was part of the previous Huntik team, Harrison, I think, would see this as something of a chance at redemption for his past part in the Blood Spirals, still having some anti-hero qualities. I should also mention that, for this series, Den took on some proteges of his own, creating his own Huntik team known as Alpha Group, since they would be the #1 team to go on missions, and are handpicked by Dante, the new leader of the Huntik Foundation, to go on the priority missions. These two characters will still appear in the show, but Dante would more serve as Guggenheim's role, and Den would show up to help bail the team out every now and then. During the team's missions and travels, there will be similar plots hit from the original series, as it would once again give a chance to teach kids about history. However, I would also throw in these historical icons, such as Arthur Conan Doyle using the Sherlock Holmes stories to tell adventures of him seeing Titans, like the Hound of Baskervilles being Darenzar, many Greek myths having Titan origins, like King Lycaon stealing the Wolf Knight Titan and Zeus cursing him there and then, with this adventure giving Tony the Wolf Knight as a new Titan. King David being a seeker and using Giant Killer to defeat Goliath, who could have also been a Titan himself. We could say Metagolem or Battlemaster, and this adventure would give Emily the Giant Killer Titan. And Ariadne being a seeker and giving Stone Sage to Theseus, and that's how he defeated the Minotaur, a possible other Titan. And these would be ways for kids to learn about history, myths, and some incredible stories throughout history, just like in the original series. It would also be during these missions that they would come across members of the Cult of Legion, multiple battles would happen, they come across members of the Huntik Foundation that card players would recognize, and we see more Titans for each side to gain and use. Of them, Tony would bond with Ferric Warbringer in South Kurdistan, a reference to the Battle of Gaugamela, Damballa at the Gosforth Cross in Norway, referencing Jormungandr of Norse mythology, and Fireblade in the Koko Ninja School, referencing ninja-like antics. Emily would bond with Fire Kappa at Mount Fuji, explaining why the volcano was dormant for so long, and Bellona at the Colosseum, as that would have been something used by the gladiators. And finally, Harrison bonding with Ferryman in the land of Manu, or the West Mountains of Egypt, hinting that this could be what the Egyptians saw to come up with the idea of Anubis. For one of their travels, Harrison brings the kids on a visit to their grandparents in Ireland, while he takes a look around at some of the country landmarks, including Muckross Abbey to locate any titans or relics. However, while he's unable to find anything on his own, he comes across a young girl on the run from the cult, and Harrison brings her to safety to the Lambert house, while ensuring they aren't followed. When they get to the house, the young girl introduces herself as Erin McAllister, and she quickly becomes the love interest for Tony. When she introduces herself, Ethan and Sandra recognize the last name as an old acquaintance in the Huntik Foundation, to which she reveals she also got into the family business, and was in Ireland looking at some of the ancient landmarks to see what she could find about any connections when the Cult of Legion found her and chased her off. She then joins the team as they go to Beer Castle in Offaly, Ireland, where they find the castle empty, with the landowners having mysteriously vanished. Inside the castle, they find one particular statue that is holding an amulet. When the Cult of Legion attacks them, they discover why the castle was perfect as a fortress, as Erin is able to bond with the Chain Golem Titan.
Show your might, Chain Golem!
With the new Titan, they're able to fight off the cultists and look through more of the castle, finding other special artifacts that are then sent to the Huntik Foundation. While they're in Ireland after this adventure, they investigate Tir na Nog, the mystical castle, as there have been some reports of strange activity in the area. When they arrive at the castle, they discover some new titans like Invisible Knight and Riderless Chariot. But these titans are instead sent to the Huntik Foundation, as they are unable to bond with any of the team members. The Lambert kids also find the strange spirit world room, where they see their parents, who appear trapped in an alternate dimension, and they tell them about a prophecy. Through the prophecy, we learn that there are two destined children who will unearth the secrets of Huntik. However, there's also a threat on the horizon, as what is known as the Red Planet, an unexplained out-of-control planet, is on a collision course with Earth, and it will collide in 3 months. This may sound like something of a rip-off of the Red Comet in Season 2, but it's to give more of a countdown clock for the heroes. This way, it's something of a callback to the original series, but ups the stakes in a much bigger way. The prophecy would also end with these destined children either saving or destroying the human world. After learning of this prophecy and bringing it to Harrison's attention, they consult the Huntik Foundation Council, including Dante, who all agree they need to figure out a way to stop this threat. Once everyone is organized, they discover that the Cult of Legion is trying to use the Red Planet to have it collide with the Spiral Mark and bring the human world and the Huntik world together and destroy it that way, bringing every destructive titan to end every being. However, this isn't what the prophecy says, but after capturing a cultist, we learn this is what they have interpreted. In their heads, the prophecy calls for the secret descendants of the betrayer, who they believe are two members known as Kal and Seia, who were raised to fulfill this destiny. Not long after, the team meets Kal and Seia, who show their strength, being stronger than Harrison, Den, and even Dante, but somehow struggle against Tony and Emily, as it's later revealed that the two sets of kids are connected through their connection to the Huntik world.
Howl like the moon, Wolf Knight! Help us in battle, Bellona! Strike swiftly, Kabuki!
Strike them! Hitokiri!
Bring the torment, Metsi!
Burn hotter, Karo-san!
During this battle, Kal and Seia dropped the bomb that Harrison was part of the blood spirals, and should be there to help them bring about the end of the world. Now, the Lambert kids wouldn't know about this, and so, while this is going to be part of the whole unpopular Liar Revealed story, this won't take up a lot of time. Maybe just an episode, as they'll work through this after seeing that Harrison truly cares about them, and the team reconciles. At the start of the final arc, the Huntik Foundation organizes and head to the Spiral Mark. Before the battle begins, Tony finally vocalizes his feelings for Erin, and she initiates their first kiss, telling him to return the favor when they're done with their job. Then, the battle between the Huntik Foundation and the Cult of Legion begins, with many Huntik Foundation members getting time to shine, including Dante, Den, Zalia, Greer, Tursley, who finally grew stronger, and several characters from the card game and comics. Additionally, we'll see many of the Titans from the show and previous show, including...
Let's do this! Come out and play, Caliban! Even the odds! Vigilante! Breaker! Bring discipline!
Up here! Carry on!
Bring chaos! Marauder!
Soar, Sunhawk! Analyze, Achman Mayo! Show your might, Chain Golem!
Embrace madness, Harlequin.
Help us in battle, Bellona! Show them true strength, Janus Knight!
Make them tremble! Antediluvian!
Destroy! Ash! Dive! Attack! Put them in their place! King Basilisk!
Emerge, Dumbala! Defend, Fire Kappa!
Corrupt everything! Jericho! Clear the way! Metagola!
Curse them! Dark Arrow!
Bring out the beast within! Ponderos! Sneak in the night! Chiroptero!
Tuesday, your lady calls! By all! Lilith the Queen!
Go berserk! Iron Monkey!
Emerge, Salamandrake!
Show your skill! Storm Gladiator!
Show them power! Slitherfang!
Terrorize, Wormwalker!
Howl like the moon! Wolf Knight! Show your strength! Giant Killer!
The battle is long and fierce for both sides, but eventually, the red planet is seen in the sky, and the spiral mark glows brighter than ever before. The two sets of kids then begin to have a vocal battle, claiming that they are the destined chosen ones. Kal and Seia then show off their mastery of spells and call forth the red planet. However, they barely bring it closer to the site, though it's hard to tell how effective their spell is from where they are. With the threat ever closer, Emily becomes scared, with Seia taking advantage of this, calling her weak and pathetic, causing Emily to break down. However, Tony is there to pick her up and help her to trust in themselves. He goes on to say that he finally understands the prophecy and what it truly means. He then takes one of her amulets and calls forth the Titan within.
Heal! Peke!
Peke then emerges to heal Emily's mental state. She then rises up and stands with her brother and says something to the extent of,
We are the prophesized children. Our family has a deep connection that is greater than any Titan you could summon to tear us apart.
Tony then joins in, saying, You were wrong about the prophecy. It calls for two who are connected to the world of Huntik. And our family has been connected to the Huntik world since Ethan Lambert, our grandfather. You tried to separate us from Harrison, but he is a true hero. He's saved us more times than we can count, and he's taught us everything we know. We shall fulfill the prophecy and save the world. In short, the whole speech is to explain the prophecy and how their decision today could save or destroy the world. I'm sorry I didn't include it in this script, but it was hard for me to come up with any kind of rhyming scheme for it, as just about every prophecy has a rhyme. Emily and Tony then look around as if they hear something. They then turn to their first and final Titans, Sunhawk, Janus Knight, Achman Mayo, and Peke, and raise their hands to touch them. When they do this, their Titans seem to dematerialize into stardust, and then rematerialize as a brand new Titan never seen before in the show, comics, or card game that is over 20 feet tall with a huge draconic motif and appearance, called Dragos, the legendary Titan of Destiny. Emerge and show us the way, legendary Titan of Destiny, Dragos! The Lambert kids, to the shock of Kal and Seia, then climb on top of Dragos and fly toward the red planet. With their new Titan and using their most powerful spells, they're able to completely vaporize the red planet from existence. This then leads everyone to be completely shocked, so much so that the Huntik Foundation members, who come out of their shocked state quicker, are able to take out the cultists easily. After the cultists, including Kal and Seia, who are still in complete confusion, are taken away to prison, let's say, the course of which is about an hour, Harrison is seen looking up into the sky towards where the kids went, and Den stands next to him. You've been looking up there for an hour, bro. You're still worried about them? They were my responsibility. I couldn't forgive myself if they're really gone. Hey, you trained them yourself. They knew what they were doing. Maybe you're right, Den. But I think Erin's taking it harder than I am. She really seemed to reciprocate Tony's love. Come on, Harrison. Let's get back to Foundation HQ. We got a lot of things to go over. Right. I'll be there in a moment. Den walks away, and after that moment, Harrison starts to move toward the scramjets when a shadow falls over him, causing him to turn around and see. Many of the Huntik Foundation members do the same. It's Dragos with, what a shock, Tony and Emily riding him. Harrison, overflowing with joy, rushes towards them and hugs them as if a father towards the kids he hasn't seen in several years. While he does scold them for scaring him like that, they hug him back. When they let go, Tony notices Erin and runs towards her, and they embrace with the music swelling. She then says something to the effect of,
Never leave me again.
To which he agrees. A week later, the trio of kids return to the spiral mark, looking over the battlefield, with Tony remarking that they never figured out how to find their parents and save them. However, Erin brings up the fact that Dragos is the legendary titan of destiny, and so could bring resolution to this. So, the Lambert kids figure to give it a try. Emerge and show us the way! Legendary Titan of Destiny, Dragos! They summon Dragos, and he flies into the spiral mark, and in doing so, he glows with a bright blue light in contrast to the red glow of the mark, and he vaporizes, recreating the original amulets for the kids, and destroying the spiral mark as we know it. The kids then hear a familiar voice call out behind them, and they turn around in happiness and surprise as their parents walk up to them and give their kids big hugs. They then walk off, going back to their home, with Erin joining them. Not long after, we see something of an epilogue scene where Sophie and Locke are talking with Dante, Den, and Harrison about their kids' future. Sophie says she would rather their kids stay in a normal life, not worrying about what could happen to them in this field of work, as she calls it. Locke, on the other hand, says he would at least want Den and Harrison to train them to know what the world and life of a seeker is like, but still thinking they should follow their own paths, reminding her that they were the same way. Sophie, after time of convincing, approves that they should choose, and allows Harrison to continue training them. While Tony stays with the Huntik Foundation, mostly to be with Erin, Emily decides to stay in school, but will still go out on missions to further her knowledge of the Huntik world. Yeah, a bit of a rushed story, but in all honesty, this is what I wanted to write. This is my fan fiction of a sequel to the series Huntik. But with that out there now, let me know what you guys would pitch as your own sequel to the series. Who would the main characters be? What would their story be? And what kind of villains would they fight? Keep the imagination juices going, and I'll see you guys next time.